All right, let's just get right into it. April 2026 wasn't just, a busy month for tech. It literally compressed a decade of AI milestones into 4 short weeks. I mean, we're talking about the launch of GPT 5.4, Claude Mythos 5, and Gemini 3.1 Pro all dropping at once. On top of that, we watched $242 billion in venture capital just flood into the sector and witnessed the largest corporate merger in history. It was the month that fundamentally bent the trend line upward forever. Because this explainer covers an incredibly dense, chaotic month of news, we're going to break things down into 5 really digestible pillars. We'll cover the macroeconomic inflection point, the frontier model wars, the record-breaking funding, the rise of agentic and physical AI, and finally, the very real infrastructure and safety limits we're hitting. Let's do it. So pillar number 1, the AI inflection. We're starting here because, look, this is no longer just a technology story. It's an economic and societal inflection point. The data from April is unambiguous, and it paints a picture of a world pivoting completely on its axis.
To set the backdrop here, global startup funding hit a record $297 billion in just the first quarter of 2026, right? That is a 150% increase year over year. It's a number so huge, it's honestly kind of hard to wrap your head around, but it perfectly sets the stage for the unprecedented technological leaps we saw right after.
Which brings us to section 2, the frontier model wars. This is where we look at the raw capability marked by an unprecedented simultaneous release window. Instead of staggering these releases over a few quarters like usual, OpenAI, Google DeepMind, and Anthropic all shipped major frontier-level models at the exact same time. And this comparison right here brilliantly illustrates the current arms race. We're directly comparing GPT 5.4's absolute dominance in real-world knowledge work against Gemini 3.1 Pro's incredible lead in novel abstract reasoning. So GPT 5.4 scored a massive 83% on GDP-val. If you aren't familiar, that's a benchmark testing AI performance across 44 real-world occupations in the top GDP-contributing industries, meaning GPT 5.4 matched or beat human industry professionals 83% of the time. Crazy, right? Meanwhile, Gemini 3.1 Pro scored 77.1% on the ARC AGI-2 benchmark, the highest of any published model for novel abstract reasoning. And if you look at the composite index, they are perfectly tied at 57. It just proves we have this incredible convergence happening at the very edge of the frontier. Now, what's really fascinating here is the OS World benchmark. GPT 5.4 has officially crossed the threshold, beating the human expert baseline in autonomous computer task completion for the very first time. At 75%, autonomous computer use agents are no longer just a fun little research demo. They are a reality. Any enterprise workflow right now that relies on a human to click around and execute step-by-step computer tasks, well, those are going to have to be completely reevaluated. And the feedback loop is compressing rapidly. Anthropic actually stated that Claude now authors up to 90% of the code in its own development pipeline. The frontier labs are literally accelerating the automation of their own R&D. So, if the labs building these models are running on models that write 90% of their code, the speed at which these capabilities compound is absolutely going to outpace any standard enterprise planning cycle. So, pillar 3, record funding and M&A. Because obviously this explosion in capability is driving an absolutely staggering concentration of capital. When the technology starts building itself, the financial markets react with unprecedented aggression. $1.25 trillion. That is the jaw-dropping valuation of the combined, vertically integrated entity created after SpaceX acquired xAI. This was the single largest M&A transaction in corporate history. Elon Musk announced this $250 billion acquisition, effectively folding xAI's capabilities directly into SpaceX's satellite and space infrastructure. Think about that scale for a second. And they're planning a potential $50 billion IPO by mid-2026. This isn't just an acquisition, it's the birth of a totally new kind of industrial titan. And as you can see, capital is basically fleeing every other sector. A staggering 81% of all global venture capital deployed in Q1 went exclusively to AI startups. That's that $242 billion we mentioned at the start. If you're building outside of AI right now, honestly, you are fighting for a historically small slice of the pie. The market has loudly decided where the future is. To really put this into perspective, just 4 mega deals, OpenAI, Anthropic, xAI, and Waymo, accounted for 65% of all global venture investment in the quarter. That exceeds all venture funding from the entirety of 2024. Just 4 companies.
It's creating this massive winner-takes-all dynamic, where a tiny handful of insanely well-capitalized entities are pulling so far ahead, they practically own the infrastructure of the future. All right, Section 4, Agents and Physical AI. Let's talk about moving beyond chatbots and getting into real-world application, where AI shifts from just talking to actually doing the work. This is where the rubber meets the road. We are rapidly moving past conversational AI and into the era of agentic AI. These are systems that independently plan, act, and learn toward a goal, without you needing to hold their hand step by step. You just give them a goal and they figure out how to browse the web, write the code, and trigger the APIs to actually get it done. And this isn't just theory anymore. 79% of organizations have already adopted AI agents at some level. We're seeing autonomous AI scientists driving massive breakthroughs. Look at Sakana AI's AI Scientist B2. It autonomously generated hypotheses, ran the experiments, and wrote a scientific paper that actually passed peer review. No way, right? Over at MIT, their systems are simultaneously discovering material defects and designing proteins based on motion using tools like VibeGen. The shift from software that helps you work to software that actually does the work is officially here. And matching Jensen Huang's GTC roadmap, this intelligence has officially breached the physical world. Humanoid robots from companies like Agibot and Figure AI are going viral, and they're moving directly into commercial warehousing and manufacturing right now. The robotics wave has finally left the lab. But bringing us to Section 5, infrastructure and safety limits, because we really need a reality check here. You cannot scale this fast without hitting some serious physical constraints and breaking a few things along the way. 10 trillion. That is the estimated parameter count of Claude Mythos 5. It represents a scale of intelligence no other model even approaches right now. By using a mixture of experts architecture, which basically routes tasks only to specialized subnetworks instead of lighting up the whole brain at once, it gets the knowledge capacity of 10 trillion parameters, but with the computational cost of a 1 trillion parameter dense model. It is an absolute behemoth. But here is the wild part. In an unprecedented move, Mythos 5 was withheld from public release entirely. Internal testing triggered Anthropic's ASL4 safety protocol, their highest risk tier. Its capabilities, like generating complete, multi-stage cyber attack chains, were simply deemed too dangerous. For the first time, a major lab built a completed frontier model and said, actually, scratch that, society's not ready for this. It raises massive, massive questions about governance and our collective readiness for what's coming. Meanwhile, the gigawatt compute arms race is straining the energy grid to its breaking point. The U.S. is facing up to an 18 gigawatt power shortfall by 2027. It's forcing immediate infrastructure breakthroughs just to keep the lights on. Tech giants are pursuing off-grid nuclear power. But we're also seeing brilliant engineering solutions, like Google's TurboQuant algorithm, which cuts the memory needed to run these models by 6 times. Or researchers achieving 360 gigabits per second optical wireless data rates using just light. Ultimately, this inflection point rewrites the entire startup playbook. We are seeing the rise of the one-hour company, a business fully conceived, built, launched, and generating revenue in a single afternoon. When AI agents can autonomously write the code, deploy the infrastructure, run the marketing, and handle customer support, the barrier to entry basically drops to zero. The ability to build software is now completely a commodity. So, the competitive moat has shifted permanently. It's now all about unique distribution and human judgment, which leaves us with one absolutely vital question to end on. With models outperforming experts across the board, what is your unique human advantage? When an AI can do the technical work faster and better, your value isn't in what you can build anymore, but in why you are building it and who you can reach. Definitely something to think about as you navigate the rest of 2026.